Hey everybody, this is Garrett from Earth and Time, and today I'm on kind of a unique adventure. I'm actually at a theme park today. I'm actually at Dinoland USA, which is actually a part of the Disney Animal Kingdom, and a portion of this park is closing next week, so I wanted to come take a look at it, talk to you a little bit about the paleontology of Dinoland, and check out some of the sites, specifically some of the kitschy fun dinosaur terminology and attractions they have before they go away next week. So with that being said, let's get to it. Welcome to Dinoland USA. First opened with the park on April 22nd, 1998, and is one of my favorite portions of any amusement park because, of course, it has dinosaurs. So let's go take a look at this park and talk about some of the geology and the paleontology that they're trying to represent here. So I am here during Christmas, or just past Christmas, so you'll get an idea about the season because they have everything lit up, they have lights, it's really decorated for the holidays. But why I'm so excited is just to see how Disney represented dinosaurs, and they put together this amazing story throughout this land that I want to share with you all. So as I head in, I'm wearing, I think, an appropriate shirt today. My family for Christmas got me this great dinosaur shirt, so I figured I had to wear it today to come into the park. So as you first enter Dinoland, you actually walk underneath this Brachiosaurus, and I think the real Brachiosaurus is actually at the Fields Museum, and you'll hear me talk about the Fields Museum a couple times during the course of this episode and video, because the Fields Museum, McDonald's, and Disney all cooperated together to restore some fossils and to buy some fossils that eventually ended up within the Field Institute in Chicago, Illinois. So this is an amazing story. This is T-Rex Sioux, or a replica T-Rex Sioux. But what's amazing about it is that T-Rex Sioux was actually partially prepared right here on site at Dinoland. Disney, the Fields Museum, and McDonald's got together and actually bought T-Rex Sioux after she was found on August 12th, 1990. Now, what's important about T-Rex Sioux is she's 90% complete, the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex they found up until that point, and maybe even still to this day. Maybe if folks know more, if there's some more complete T-Rexes now, they comment below. But as far as I know, still the most complete T-Rex skeleton. So there's only 3 of these. There's 2 replicas and the real one. One replica's here at Dinoland. One is on tour, touring, I believe, the nation and world. And the last one, the original and the actual real fossil, is actually at the Fields Museum in Chicago. And from what I understand, where did they prepare it? Well, they prepared it right here where these tents are today. So they had a pavilion in this area that they actually had paleontologists working on cleaning the actual T-Rex Sioux. Pretty fascinating story and really cool connection to this amazing fossil. Now, one other thing I'll point out while we're looking at Sioux here is her pelvis. And why that's important is they actually break dinosaurs, or they did break dinosaurs into kind of 2 broad categories. And those are what they called lizard hip, things like Sioux here, or Saurischian type dinosaurs, and Thornician hipped dinosaurs, or bird hip dinosaurs, which are things like Iguanodon and Stegosaurus. And unfortunately, I don't have a good example of one of those to show you at this location. One of the things Disney did is they created a dinosaur ride. Now, this dinosaur ride, as I understand it, was in response to, of course, Jurassic Park at Universal Studios, which was just down the road. Disney, in response to what was going on over at Universal Studios, came up with their own version of a dinosaur ride. They wanted to capitalize on that. In this case, they came up with Dinosaur. And actually, who you see in front of us is an Iguanodon here from actually the movie Dinosaur that came out in the early 2000s. Now, with that, they focused on very different creatures than Jurassic, which most people are familiar with Jurassic Park. And so they specifically chose really the time of the Cretaceous, or the end of the dinosaurs, to focus on, and focusing on this story of an Iguanodon and the chief villain being a Carnotaurus. So I'm going to hop on this ride so we can take a look at the dinosaurs in this ride and take a look how Disney represented dinosaurs from the late Cretaceous as a part of this time traveling experience. So as I head in, they actually have a dinosaur track here, and you can see a little shrew, early mammal, drinking water out of some kind of probably hadrosaur track. And they have a skull for an Albertosaurus, which is T-Rex-like and was also from the late Cretaceous. Would have been around as a contemporary of the T-Rex. They also have a Anchiceratops skull in here, which is also from Canada and it's late Cretaceous. So this would have been a contemporary also of a T-Rex or things like a Triceratops. And they have a nice exhibit on meteorites and talking about the extinction event and what happened at the end of the Cretaceous and how it affected the dinosaurs. One of the really neat items they have in here is the shatter cone. So this is a result of a meteor impact. So as a meteorite comes in, it hits the ground, it creates so much force, it actually creates these shatter patterns inside of basement rock. The only way that we've been able as humans to mimic that is through nuclear blasts, and they've seen these same kind of shatter cones as a result of nuclear explosions in places like the Nevada test site. And as you enter the main queue area, they have a giant Carnotaurus. Now, I heard from a friend that although this is a replica of what the Carnotaurus was, which actually lived in South America and would have been contemporary with T-Rexes and would be a smaller type of carnivore, this one isn't exactly morphologically correct. As I understand it, the leg bones maybe are a mixture of both a T-Rex as well as a Carnotaurus. And here's another view of the Carnotaurus. They also have pterodons up on the ceiling, as well as an image of the extinction event, a crocodile. They also have some kind of maybe dromaeosaur. It is a dromaeosaur up on the wall. On the other side of the Carnotaurus, they actually have what would be the Paleocene, or after the end of the dinosaurs when giant birds and mammals were coming onto the scene. Pretty cool murals that they have in here. One of the other things they did really well is they captured the stratigraphy or the geology as you'd see it in the earth when they were trying to find these fossils. They have everything even folds in here, which will be structurally created. They capture some fossils, as well as, I believe this is a coal seam. So they're trying to capture a lot of different detail within the stratigraphy or the faux stratigraphy that they have here. And for those geeks here, it's a Z fold. You can see how it kind of makes a Z through here. Pretty cool. As I walk past and take a look, we can actually see they put on a little fault here as well with some offset, which I think is just a joint. But pretty cool that they're trying to capture different types of geology along this wall. And with this geology, you can actually start putting together a bit of a story. So here you have sea life, and then as the oceans receded, you end up with a bunch of coal. Now, coal is deposited most often in swampy type environments, and so this is going from out in the ocean in a beach environment to a swampy environment. So you can think of something like the Louisiana coast and the idea of what's happening there as an example of this. Pretty cool that the Imagineers put this whole story together for this ride. And it looks like they snuck in an ammonite in here too. This is pretty cool. This is a Deinonychus skull. And this is from the early Cretaceous. So this would have been a carnivore. You can see its teeth. Here's a little bit about the KT boundary. It's 65 million years ago. And the fact that they actually found ash layers associated with this event. And they talk about it here on this sign. So before you get on the ride, they have this pre-show.
Literally transport you to the age of the dinosaurs.
Talking about how they can transport you to the age of the dinosaurs. It's a lot of fun.
It's a breathtaking journey.
I'll grab some footage from the ride too for you all to take a look at some of the dinosaurs.
Creatures to ever walk the earth.
Let's roll!
So now we're going back in time on the time machine. And we're supposed to go grab an iguanodon.
Okay, now let's go get that dino. Computer, what are you tracking? Styracosaurus.
Not our dino.
Joking.
Oleoramus.
Oleoramus joking on something. I don't know if he's making.
Hadrosaur.
Hey, Hester, yeah.
Raptor.
Time to get serious. Lock the autopilot on the scope. Could be ours. Computer, full stop.
That is not the dinosaur.
Identify.
Carnivorous.
Definitely not our dino. Go, go, go!
Iguanodon.
Forget it! Get them out now!
Asteroid impact.
Brace yourself! This is it!
Mission accomplished.
You made it! I knew you would.
We made it.
Guess who made it back with you? I better find it before security does. Thanks for everything!
And as they come out, they have a mural with extinction. And they talk about different animals from the sail fins over here to, of course, T-Rex, to woolly mammoths. Have some orodonts in there, I think. And they have a turtle, which we've been from the time of the Mesozoic, was swimming around mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, most likely. And it's huge. It's like the size of a small sedan. It's a big turtle. And as they come out, they have the Styracosaurus, which is a relative and part of the ceratopsian family, relative to the Triceratops. They have the Carnotaurus, which was Disney's answer to the T-Rex of Jurassic Park. They thought this would be a good, scary villain and monster. And here's an Oleoramus, which in this ride sure looked like it was choking on this. I'm assuming it's maybe, I'm not exactly sure what that one is, but some kind of crocodilian. Outside of the dinosaur ride, they also have this area which was known as the Cretaceous Trail, which has a bunch of plants that would have been alive during that time. So during the Cretaceous, you did start having flowering plants, but the early part of the Mesozoic, so the Triassic and Jurassic, it was more common to see things like maybe things like ferns and palms were more prevalent and probably the food sources for many of the dinosaurs, the herbivore dinosaurs, or maybe if they were omnivore dinosaurs, they would have eaten those as well. Flowering plants did start taking hold in the Cretaceous in kind of a big way, and of course going forward into where we're at today, flowering plants are really kind of one of the dominant, if not the dominant type of plant. Now, I'm not a botanist or paleobotanist, but that's my 2 cents on it. Now, from the dinosaur ride, what they have here is kind of a kitschy, it's called Chester and Hester's Dinorama. It's supposed to represent somewhere along something like Route 66 where they had this dinosaur discovery. And so they created this kind of silly amusement park and roadside attraction out of it. At the same time, there were individuals like at that Dinosaur Institute that was running this tour as part of this fantastical world. So this exists on a highway known as 498, 4 representing April 98, the year that this park opened up, specifically Animal Kingdom, but the Dinosaur Land, Dinoland opened at that same time. Let's go take a look at the Dinorama and Chester and Hester's, because a week from now, they're going away and they're going to truly go extinct. I want to capture some of the fun, kitschy things they have in there. Being a dinosaur nerd, I want to share those with you all. But before I get there, they have this really cute hadrosaur, some type. I think it's supposed to be a duck-billed dinosaur here. So some kind of hadrosaur, very cartoony looking. And you can look at the image on the background. So this is part of Chester and Hester's. And you can see how they have these kind of kitschy pictures, just like you'd see on something like a roadside attraction. And I love stuff like Smilodon says, "Have a nice day," extinct pleasures. Signs like "Our T-Rex souvenirs, our king," and you can see that they wrote that over an old gas sign. It says gas 28.9 cents per gallon. Do any of you remember gas that cheap? I sure don't. In my lifetime, I think the cheapest I saw was around $1. Here's some more prehistorical low prices. Welcome to our dinosaur, our Dino Store by Chester and Hester. And you can see a thing there that says fossils. And just like you'd see kind of in the 40s, 50s, and 60s in these roadside attractions, they have things like come on in and enjoy our Ice Age air conditioning. to understand some of the signs here, you have to realize that the Imagineers created this world here where there was this dinosaur discovery back in the late 1940s, and they carried on into at least into the 90s when this all came to be here. So with that, you have to realize that things like when they talk about having air conditioning, that would have been something novel that you'd have seen on something like Route 66, in this case on Route 498, this fictitious highway. And I have to come in here and capture all the kitschy, crazy, novelty dinosaur items inside of what is supposed to be this roadside attraction, souvenir stop, kind of tourist trap. And you'll see how they have all these fascinating little dinosaur knickknacks everywhere. They even have some rocks up there. They have a little volcano scene, and they actually have a train that sometimes runs around, and maybe I'll be able to catch it. I don't see it running right now, but this train track runs around the whole extent of the store and really creates part of the magic here. The Imagineers really outdid themselves when they were coming up with this idea of a roadside attraction and souvenir shop. Ooh, and they have a dinosaur track up there. So I believe that's a Ubrontes track, actually. It looks very similar to some trackways I worked on in Utah. Pretty cool. So those would be potentially late Triassic, early Jurassic time frame. I love all the posters. They really have everything they need to make this a true kitschy type place, and somewhere that's not too dissimilar from places I've stopped on or along on Route 66. I even love the detail of these little tracing dinosaurs. I remember having things like that when I was a kid, and you trace your pencil around them, and they took all these traceable dinosaurs and put them around the window frame and door frames. Now there are comic books up here, so at one point this place actually sold comic books and other more dinosaur related items as well. Now it's mostly kind of classic Disney gear. And because it started as a gas station originally, this Chester's and Hester's, they have a gas pump here, and you'll see a lot of shout outs to Sinclair Gas, whose mascot of course is a sauropod. And coming up here, some things from Time Magazine, some other features, and there's a picture of Chester and Hester with a dino track. Looks almost like a little Grawlator track potentially. This is cool. I would totally have this poster. Look, it's families of dinosaurs. You have ankylosaurs, stegosaurs, sauropods. There's your theropods, prosauropods, the ceratopsians, the ornithopods, and pachycephalosaurs. That's really cool. And just above that, they use an old gas pump and some drawing to create a sauropod of their own. And here's another one out of a light fixture. Ha! No dinosaurs allowed. And this is the other side of the store. Prehistoric prices, mammoth deals. They have a Stegosaurus windmill up there, and their little we're erupting with gifts sign, which is fantastic. And because it was an old gas station, you have things like bumpers, and you have an old oil pump, I believe, there from Sinclair. Here is the welcome to Diggs County, so this gives you an idea about this world they created here. So we're in what's known as Diggs County along Highway 498, and we're here at Chester and Hester's Dinorama and gift store. And you see here, parking lot, 50 cents, $2. True tourist trap. And juxtaposed to that is what's known as the Dinosaur Institute, and that's where we just went and rode that ride. And the idea here, the story is that once the Dino Institute came in, they actually created a proper museum, not as kitschy, not as roadside attraction-y, but it still brought in a lot of tourists. So of course Chester and Hester were smart and decided they were going to capitalize on that. Again, the Imagineers put a lot of time, thought, and effort into this world and into this story of this land. And I often find it's probably been pretty underappreciated how much work went into it. And right across from Chester's and Hester's, they set up Diorama in a parking lot. So this was an amusement park they created to capitalize on this idea that they found dinosaurs here in Diggs County. Now, this is going away in about a week, as well as Chester's and Hester's, which is one of the reasons I wanted to come here and visit and check it out before it was all gone. I think if you're a dinosaur enthusiast like myself, this is a really cool place, and the fact that the Imagineers did so much to create this amazing world, I think needs to be captured and remembered, and so I want to try to do that as best I can. And I know there's others that have done that as well, but hopefully I can give it a bit more of a paleontological or scientific spin to it. That's Triceratops spin, and here's the entrance to Dinorama. The beauty of this land in this area is that they actually made a faux parking lot, just like you'd see on some roadside attraction, and they have the same kinds of fun, silly carnival games that are all dinosaur fossil themed, like the fossil fueler.
All right.
And
let me make sure everybody's good.
The mammoth marathon and wacky mirrors, and of course the giant sauropod.
Yes. All right. That's good.
And I won the Dinorama dinosaur on a game. I'm so excited. I never win anything. I was pretty stoked to win that. Flying Triceratopses. Watch out, they're pokey. What's the Triceratops' favorite song? The Hokey Pokey. What's the Triceratops' favorite vehicle? A tricycle. Okay, have to do Triceratops twirl one last time. It's like the Dumbo of rides here, and it's a Triceratops that you get to fly up and down. I'm pretty excited. Going for a ride on another dinosaur, little guy. I need to come up with a name for him. Any ideas? Get one more view of Chester and Hester from the swirling dinosaurs. Last ride of Triceratops.
Looks like our little dinosaurs are landing. So please stay seated. When they come to a complete stop, make sure you have all your belongings and then walk to the exit gate.
Hey, Triceratops! One of the greatest things they have here is what's called the Boneyard, or the fossil site where they first found the dinosaurs here. And you'll see it was established in 1947 because that's when they suggested they found the fossils. To start off with, in the bone pit, one of the things I absolutely love is they actually have a bit on the geology and the different layers, talking about where they actually found the fossils from, what's above it, going all the way up until something that's much younger. And somewhere in here then would be what we call an unconformity, because we have Cretaceous, and then suddenly they're all the way to the Pleistocene with a mammoth fossil. That's pretty cool. Here is a nice diagram of what I was talking about earlier, where I was talking about the ornithischian hip joints, which are more bird-like, like the hadrosaur, versus things like the saurischian hip joint, or things like the Tyrannosaurus rex, which you can see has a very different type of hip, and they call that lizard hip versus bird hip. But what's interesting is I think, and somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong on here, that actually the saurischians are actually more closely related to modern day birds than the ornithischians are. The first animal we'll come to is a Pachycephalosaurus, which they have here. that they found in this pit. Now, they've come up with a fascinating story about why this even exists, pulling on actual, I believe, probably real-life examples of deathbeds or dinosaur deathbeds. And here's that Pachycephalosaurus. Now, what's the story about there being so many bones in this one layer all put together in this area? Well, they actually came up with a story for that as well. And what I enjoy is that they actually put a story together just like we do as paleontologists and geologists. We actually come look at a certain area, and then we have to, much like Sherlock Holmes or like CSI, we have to put the story together. And that's exactly what the Imagineers did here for this faux dig site. And they have notes here about it, that there's a jumble of fossils, basically a deathbed, where they think a whole group of various dinosaurs all died. And the question is, was it a herd that all perished at the same time, or did different things happen? And so here's some hypotheses or ideas they can test that against. Things like, how can you tell it's actually a herd? Do you see young, old, male and female there? Do they say could they have died at different times, not all at once? Could it be something more like La Brea tar pits in California, which also I did a video on, I'll link up there. Could it be something more like that? Or could they have been washed down into this area and this was maybe some kind of ancient lake? And that's where geologists would help them understand that. Really interesting that they came up with these ideas of why all these bones are here, and still, just like scientists do today, have to try to figure out that mystery and come up with these hypotheses to test against. Now, near and dear to my heart is ichnology, and you may hear some growling. So as you step on the dinosaur trackways here, you hear that in the background, they make noises based on the different types of dinosaurs. And they actually have two types of dinosaurs here, they said. They have a sauropod and some kind of theropod, which is a meat eater, a sauropod being something like a long neck. However, the feet I see here are maybe more like hadrosaurs, and these ones definitely look like they would be a carnivorous dinosaur or theropod track. But the other ones do not look like sauropods. They look a lot more like something like a duck-billed dinosaur walking through. So something like an iguanodont. And of course, no dinosaur exhibits complete without a T-Rex. So this means that this deathbed would have been late Cretaceous, between the hadrosaurs and the Pachycephalosaurus and the T-Rex, and have a beautiful recreation here of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And a cave for kids to climb into, so kids can kind of climb into his bones. Oh, and here, like the T-Rex Zoo we saw, there's that Saurischian pelvis. What's interesting about this T-Rex is it's actually articulated, or mostly all together, so they can call things articulated or disarticulated if they're broken up into much smaller bones and fragments and pieces that spread all over, like a lot of the hadrosaurs we see like this. This could be a combination of multiple hadrosaurs in this one wall, so we call that disarticulated. Here's another duck-billed dinosaur. Also in this deathbed are two triceratops. Are they fighting? Are they kissing? What's going on here? Okay, the last thing we're going to check out this dig site is they actually have stairs that come through the stratigraphy. So we're down here in the bone bed. We're working our way up. We can see there's a change in stratigraphy, and they carved this out. Oh, there's still some bones here that are a little higher up, and we're going to come up. And what they've done is they've recreated this amazing fossil hash. So this would have been some marine type bed, and you can see the different types of seashells in here. And at the very top of the stratigraphic column, we get all the way to the Pleistocene, or almost recent times, where you actually have a mammoth skull and tusks that are being excavated out. Really neat way to talk about the concepts of superposition, as well as the idea of fossils through time and geologic time. Great job, Imagineers. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for joining me today to check out Dinoland USA and say goodbye to the Chester and Hester's Dinorama portion. I hope you learned something about dinosaurs along the way and about this amazing place. I know I learned a lot walking around here, talking to the amazing cast members here. And again, I'm so impressed by what the Imagineers did. So with that being said, if you all enjoyed this video, you all know what to do by this point. Take care and see you all in the next adventure. You've got dino power. Christmasosaurus.